being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Daniel. I appreciate you inviting me on and giving me this opportunity to speak to everyone. So thanks. I'm looking forward to it. So my name's Lindsay Migliore. I'm a medical doctor. I am trained in physical medicine and rehabilitation at Georgetown, but I decided recently that I wasn't going to do traditional medicine and focus instead on esports medicine. In terms of my medical background, I'm a faculty associate at the NYIT Center for Sports Medicine. I am a curriculum contributor at the Homer Stryker School of Medicine in Michigan. In terms of streaming, I am a Take This streaming ambassador, Play versus Game Changer, which I love that name. And yeah, I wear a lot of hats. The scope of my practice is a range from casual gamers to professional gamers, and I also work with medical providers. So basically, I make video gaming healthier. Is the very, very short of what I do.
So a couple things to kind of get to. First, I must confess, knowing that I've seen your Fall Guys stream, I love your shirt, given your French fry avatar that you've used in the past. Now, you mentioned you're a Take This ambassador. Do you mind mentioning that real quick before we keep going about what is Take This?
Take This is a nonprofit. I love them because they are all about promoting positive mental health in the video game community. And that is essentially what they do. They do a lot more things, but I feel like as a medical provider, we tend to focus a lot more on physical health and mental health. So having that background and having that, in my back pocket is really, really excellent in streaming, because as you were talking about how everyone is streaming. Sometimes you have people in your chat who might be going through issues or crises or treating you like a therapist. And that can be really hard to deal with if you don't have any training. So Take This has been really helpful in terms of that.
And they do a lot of really cool work
They
with
do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the AFK room, which is away from keyboard, is a really cool thing that they do constantly in PAX, and they're still doing it, which I was kind of surprised by, but also just love that it's a safe space for people to kind of unwind and so forth. The owner of Take This would always say, it is the most boring room at PAX on purpose, which I always like that. Can you tell us, and switching gears a little bit, about your personal brand identity? Because a lot of people are doctors when it comes to mental health, but you are more on the lines of physical health. So how do you establish your brand in that case?
That's a really good question. As most people know, your brand kind of evolves with you as you learn the ropes. So basically my vision is that I am providing health content to video gamers, everyone from casual to professional. So that, depending on what my demographic that I'm speaking to is, it kind of shifts a little bit. So for your casual gamers, that might mean something like, a person in their 30s with a nagging wrist injury that's trying to maintain their favorite hobby for the rest of their life. But so in that kind of situation, I take on a more Dr. Oz, but with less bullshit. Sorry.
That's okay.
Whereas when I'm addressing my professional content, my professional audience, it becomes a lot more facts and numbers. And this is something that, as working in healthcare for 8 years, I've kind of already gotten good at, because when you come in to see me as your physician, if you are a 30 or 40-year-old with an acute knee injury from running or playing football, I'm going to talk a little bit more casually. I tend not to wear a white coat. And I focus a lot more on prevention, next steps, how you're going to prevent this in the future. On the other hand, if you come in and you're a 60, 70, 80-year-old white man, I put on my white coat, I grab the stethoscope, I talk very factually. I hit them with all of the facts. I discuss the pathophysiology of their injury for what seems like hours, until they have full faith and confidence in me. And then I go on to the prevention. So, I kind of adjust that to my brand identity in esports medicine as well, because if I'm talking to casual gamers, it's diluted in entertainment. But if I'm talking to the pros, the esports orgs, it's all about measures, outcomes, money, and things like that.
Now, with that, I've always been just blown away by your personal brand, because I just think it's really cool and fascinating. One of the things I was super interested in, though, is like, what spurred the shift from, because during the start of COVID, you were kind of in the vanguard, if you will. But at the same time, our interactions in between and recently, you've mentioned, you're like, I love working for myself. And there was a part of me that I got kind of envious when you said that. But it is something of what made the change for you to do this kind of personal branding for yourself? Because I think there's a handful of students that are really interested in doing something like this.
That's a really good question. So this had kind of been planned, but hadn't really been planned. I was going to take a job in New York this year and build out an esports medicine center with a very, very large institution there. But I was interviewing with them, and they were so enthusiastic and so excited about what I was doing that it made me take a step back and say, well, why do I need them? Why do I need these people? What are they providing me? I'm providing them with, I'm building something for them. What are they providing to me besides the name in front of what I'm doing? And so I thought about the things that were really important to me. And something that's always been important to me is making my own decisions and forging my own path. So I decided I turned down the job. I withdrew my application and decided I was going to really work on my own, because, at the end of the day, whatever you believe about what happens in life, we only get so much time on this earth in this body. So why would you not want to spend it doing the things exactly what you want to be doing, instead of, working for someone else, doing something that you don't necessarily want to be doing? So, that's kind of what really spurred it, was seeing their enthusiasm for it, and then realizing that I did have a path, I did have a business plan, and taking advantage of the times. So, one of my favorite people to listen to is Gary Vaynerchuk. He is brilliant. He's a brilliant entrepreneur. And he says, that the successful business people aren't necessarily the smartest, but they know how to adapt to changes, right? So they know how to see an opportunity, or see a change and see an opportunity. And this pandemic right now is an excellent opportunity if you're providing or entertainment without a production staff, because, now there's not going to be any new TV shows next year, right? Nothing's filming. The staff of Batman had to be shut down because Robert Pattinson got COVID. So providing, now is the time to really move in esports and move into content. So it was kind of a summation of multiple factors.
Sure. Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for that, especially. I've mentioned this to a couple of y'all, that especially those who have marketed it around Boone in particular. It's kind of fascinating because, again, they're all in the same boat y'all are in right now. So being able to talk to one another and building that online community is huge. And second of all, with that bit of advice, and I love the whole kind of idea of, you are the channel that can produce content. I mean, we've got majors here at App State, electronic media and broadcast, and it's difficult for them to get into the studio. Whereas, if we have the technology here, you have a limitless potential to be able to market this kind of stuff. Now, with that, I know you said that there was a bit of a plan in the making to do this. How did you get started into your own self-brand? Like, what were some of the steps that you made to progress to that?
Yeah. I had an idea of what I thought I wanted to do about 2.5 years ago. I really started doing this. I started creating content for YouTube, and I thought that's what I was going to be doing. I was taking videos of famous streamers and then dissecting their posture and dissecting their health, and then posting my tips on YouTube. Uh, if you watch those videos, like the production content's atrocious. It's atrocious. And as I was kind of working through that, then I got on Twitter. Um, and one of the things, being a fan of Gary Vee, is I try and see what works. So if I put out a video and I normally get X amount of likes and that video gets a lot less likes, I'm less likely to do that sort of content in the future. So really Twitter was kind of my testing ground for content. And back then it was like I had like 40 followers, but if I got unengagement, it was like, oh, this might be something that people are interested. So I kind of pursued that strategy a little bit more aggressively. And then I took a look at what was out in the market. So in the beginning, the content that I was doing was a lot of physical health, physical therapy more than anything, and ergonomic assessments. And if you look at what existed at the time for esports medicine, that was really all there was. So you had 1HP and Dr. Kate McGee doing that same exact thing. And she had been doing it for like 7 years at that point. So I wasn't about to, make the same content as her and be successful, because why would they go to a crappier version of Kate? So what I did was I tried to find the gaps in the industry and then fill those gaps. And one of the things I didn't think a lot of people were doing at the time was the entertainment side of it. So one of the things that I recommend to my pro players is getting on a skincare regimen, right? So if you're on camera all day, if your skin looks better, people are going to like you more. Your Twitter engagements are going to go up. Your Twitter impressions are going to go up. There's well-documented studies that people who we think are attractive, we listen to more, we like more, we tend to trust more. So I always recommend a skincare regimen. And one of the things that sometimes people go on is something called retinin. And retinin is like very, very powerful vitamin. But in order for it to work, it has to be dissolved in a lot of alcohol. So it's like a cream you rub on, it gets dissolved in alcohol, and then the alcohol evaporates and the retin remains there. So that is really how I approach content, right? So I give a lot of entertainment, and dissolved in that is a little bit of education. So when the entertainment goes away, hopefully at the end of the day, the education still remains, right? So we did a 1.5-hour Twitch stream last night on G Fuel and dissecting what was in G Fuel and if it was good for you, if it was bad for you, what actually was in G Fuel. And, I like to think that people walked away with a couple good take home points. But were we talking about education for the entire 1.5 hours? Absolutely not. So that's kind of where I've developed and how I've grown. It's been difficult because, people love to troll. People love it. My Twitter icon was just my brand icon for a really, really long time, which was fun because I just got called like simp a lot, which was just really entertaining to me. But now that it's my face, the troll language has changed. Ethot has been the new favorite though.
Oh, really? Okay.
Ethot, yeah.
Were you called a simp because people thought you were a guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It was very entertaining. But the worst trolls, ignore them, but people who have something negative to say, you can still learn something from them because they represent an area of the market that you might be able to get a hold of. So, I try to listen, take something positive from every experience as well. It's a long answer.
No, and that's again. Feel free to talk as much as you want on this because I think there's a lot of fascinating things in here. One of the things that I think this has been pretty consistent across the board for people we've talked to in terms of kind of like bringing in aspirational material, not copy, but find your own place for where you fit in that. But I also really like the idea of understanding what you look like on camera and so forth. I know one of the I think you're probably one of the best at it that of anybody I've ever met when it comes to streaming. And this is consistent with parasocial interaction research, is making eye contact with the
Mm-hmm.
camera. And again, I don't, I don't know what your setup looks like that you're able to do that so well. But I noticed when we were doing our Not Your Therapist panel, everybody was kind of looking off to the side, and GamerDoc was looking at the camera the entire time. So, and that makes a difference. And part of the social media influencers that I'm going to show to y'all kind of consistently through the class, they have that in common. SXC Phil, I've mentioned before, what's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting. Steve Dangle does a tremendous job of keeping eye contact. Now, granted, it's highly edited and it's for YouTube, but still, I mean, they knew going into the brand of understanding YouTube and being on camera that that was the way to do things. So that's awesome. And again, you do a phenomenal job of that. Just as one example, and I'd love to hear more about what are some things that you can do when you're on camera for, you know, how you can make yourself look better and how you keep people engaged and from running away from your channel.
Yeah, that's, there's lots of really good data out there on how to engage your viewers, how to gain trust. I think coming from a medical background, that is something that we pay very much attention to. You know, you come in when you start practicing medicine on your own, you're 26 years old, which to some people feels quite old, maybe in this channel, but you know, if you're the population you're treating is really, really young. So you have to be able to gain trust and you have to be able to form those relationships really, really quickly in order to provide effective medical care. But the other thing is, everything that I do, I try and do it effectively and I try and do it well. And there is such good data out there on the things that we do. You can watch a YouTube video on anything. I fixed my own garbage disposal last week. Who knew? Like, I have never done anything mechanical in my life. So if there is something, if there is a skill out there, it can be improved. Like, you know, public speaking, right? People think, oh, I'm just born, you know, some people are just really good public speakers. I'm not a good public speaker. That's not true. That's an excuse you're giving yourself. You can be a good public speaker if you do it over and over and over and over and over again. It's just like the advice I give to my pro players. It's, you want to practice in the same environment you're going to compete in, because when you get into that competition, when you hear the fans, when that pressure comes on, your cortisol spikes, your stress hormones spike, and that puts your brain in a different state of mind than what you're normally in. So if you're public speaking and you go to get up on that platform and all of a sudden you get sweaty armpits and your heart starts racing and your face turns beet red, that's a stress response. And you can work on that. So expose yourself to that over and over and over again, and your body's not going to respond to like that anymore. And it's the same thing with talking on a panel. If I am looking at the camera and I pause for a second, it doesn't seem like I don't know what I'm about to say next. It seems more like I am thinking. But if I'm looking at the camera and then I look away and I'm pausing, people think I'm unsure of myself. They think that I'm stumbling over my words. And those tiny, tiny little changes can make a huge difference. Another thing that I really like for stream setups, this is a huge crossover to my other business that I do, which is helping physicians set up for telemedicine right now. I'm sure a lot of people in this stream, because you know, you are a streamer, I see a lot of green screens, know this, but you want to have your light like behind your camera. So it's coming down on your face. And that makes a huge difference too, because if you're lit weird and it casts weird shadows on your face, that's a trust issue, right? People inherently are going to have less trust in you. They're going to like you a little less. So there's certain things that you can do, like keeping your camera slightly above you so it doesn't hit you below the chin, having your face well lit with an orangier light than just a bright white light can be really helpful. Another thing, which I didn't do today because I just didn't do it, but you know, having a little, and I know some people are going to freak out about this, but putting a little bit of blush on your cheeks and a little bit of red on your lips, because the camera and the light washes you out and it's going to make you look pasty. So just having, I'm telling you right now, all the pros do it. Most of the pros do it. The dudes, the girls, everyone does it. Gets a little bit of makeup before they go out because it makes you look better on camera. And if you look better on camera, then your brand's gonna be more successful. There's also really good algorithms for social media pictures. So if you are on Twitter, there's a really excellent paper on how your profile picture should look in order to instill confidence. So if you're looking to the left, it's like you're looking forward. You're forward thinking. People are more confident in you. If you're looking to the right, I don't know if this is reversed or whatever, but if you're looking to the right, then you're looking backwards and people are going to think less. And so also people follow the line of your eyes. So if your eyes in your picture are going somewhere, where are they going? And that's where the person's eyes are going to follow. So for Twitter, they say point at the follow button. You put your eyes at the follow button. So just if you want to get better at something, do a little bit of research and see what's been done, what's out there, and what the guidelines are, because that's going to save you so much trouble and so much time and make you more efficient in the future.
And now I'm sitting here thinking about your profile picture that you have on Twitter. I'm like, practice what she preaches. Absolutely.
It's literally algorithm. You're supposed to smile slightly with teeth, and it's supposed to be chest up with your shoulders shown.
Slightly with teeth. Damn, I've been doing my faculty profile all wrong. It's interesting of mentioning it with public speaking. I mean, yeah, we've talked quite a bit about that with a handful of students coming to me and say, I'm really nervous. And I would always mention, hey, I'm really nervous too when I go on stream personally. But and when you're saying cortisol levels flying through the roof, I remember my first lecture in general as a professor. I was a grad student at the time. And I do not like repeating that story because it was a train wreck. And after that lecture, all I could think was, I'm never doing this again. And I have a class right after this that I have to do it. But it was just I know it was awful. But it was like the more I did it, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting used to what it's like being in front of people. And even within stream, I'm getting to that. Now with that, we mentioned a lot about what's on streaming, and you talk a little bit about this idea of what our profile picture can be like. Can you dive a little bit into some of your consulting services? Obviously without like telling too much per se, but because I know that you talk, you have it on your website in terms of individual versus an organization, performance in medicine. Elaborating a little bit on that social media direction off camera in this case. Like, what should our students be doing while the camera is off and they're trying to promote people to come to their brand?
Yeah, I think one of the really good ones is utilizing the platform that your demographic is utilizing. And I feel like this tends to be super overlooked. And it's one of like the basics of social media marketing. The number one most used platform is Facebook. I think it's like 2 billion. And then it's like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, somewhere in that order. But I think that the daily Twitter following users is like 300 million. It's nothing compared to Facebook. But if you're targeting people who we want to come in and watch your League of Legends stream, Facebook's probably not for you, because of those 2 billion people, 95% of them are our parents. Facebook is age range is a lot different than TikTok's age range. And so what I tell people is find your target demographic and then find 1 or 2 platforms that target that demographic, and then do those platforms really, really, really well, and figure out how to use your platform, right? So your strategy on Instagram is going to be 100% different than your strategy on Twitter. My brand is terrible on Instagram, right? I don't do a lot of picture-based things. I use words a lot. So Instagram is not really, and you can see in my social media following on both of those platforms, it's remarkably different because I don't put a lot of effort into Instagram, despite it having, probably 4 or 5 times the daily users that Twitter does. I always tell people to get on TikTok. TikTok, I think, has 800 million daily users. I could just be making all these numbers up. Someone should probably check me. But TikTok is one of the most, it's an emerging platform that has an incredible amount of users, and there's not a lot of content, right? So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is flooded with content. Everyone who has a profile makes content, right? Even if you only use your Instagram once in a while, you're still posting pictures of your dog or poorly lit pictures of your food or of a landscape that no one is going to look at, or on Twitter, like sharing your thoughts about fantasy or something. But on TikTok, there's a huge amount of the market that's not producing any content. They're just there to watch, which is really remarkable. So especially if you're a streamer, especially if you're gameplay, small gameplay clips that are 10, 15, 20 seconds can have, you can get 40,000 views in a matter of days, because TikTok's algorithm isn't based on following. It's not based on following. It's based on, they take the video that you make and they show it to people who they think will like it based on your hashtags. And then if those people watch it all the way through, then they'll show it to more people, right? So if you have content that 1, 10, 5, 15 people are going to watch, more people are going to watch it on TikTok. So good content goes a really long way on TikTok. So especially for the streaming age range. Once again, I don't practice what I preach, and I am terrible at TikTok, but it's not necessarily my demographic. It skews a little bit young for people who are interested in health prevention. But for the streaming population, it's a huge platform.
And I think especially with some of the people in our class, I know we have talked quite a bit about people who are streaming sports and doing NBA 2K. Y'all have mentioned about putting things on, Israel, you mentioned specifically putting things on your Instagram. That may be a unique opportunity to show your highlights there. It may be a unique opportunity to not only show, because we've got a cooking stream and a lifestyle stream that we're looking at, and being able to incorporate those things into TikTok might be a really good way to do it. And I'd imagine, I don't know the transfer in terms of clips to something like TikTok. I don't think it would be that terribly difficult to be able to incorporate. But no, I think this is excellent. And, again, goes to think about what y'all should be thinking when you are looking at this idea of what should my content look like on social media? Because again, we use Facebook, but there's a very specific reason why.
Yeah.
Because we're doing mental health advocacy on ours, and we get a big following. That's actually one of our biggest followings. However, App State Communication Department doesn't get a lot of following on Facebook, whereas on Instagram, when we've posted things in the past, it's blown up. So really think about that, especially if you want to pursue this that much further. This is great advice.
Yeah, like you said, like Facebook is fantastic if your target audience is like 25 and up. Facebook, it has like 2 billion daily users. That's a wild amount. So yeah, Facebook definitely has a time and a place. It's just it's definitely for mental health and things like that. So I'm not shaming Facebook.
No, and it is the target. I think if memory serves correctly, as of the last 2 years, most primary, this is according to Hootsuite data, was 35 to 43 was the number one target for Facebook. And yeah, for something like cooking, that could be a great demographic. CookVid is a group that I'm on right now that shows all these recipes, and it is constantly flooded with content and comments. And if you post something like anything, it'll do very, very well. I do want to mention a little bit, because we really haven't talked that much about it. And per my last conversation with my buddy Josh Jepson, he mentioned that Discord is probably one of these social medias of the future, and we should be paying a hell of a lot more attention to it. And you run a phenomenal Discord to where, like, you include incentive for number of chatter that comes into it. I post on your fitness accountability all the time, mainly to keep myself
accountable.
running. Yeah, accountable. lack of better terms, right? Can you talk a little bit about how you run your Discord and why that's important for this kind of material?
So about 8 months ago, I started streaming last October. I started streaming from a MacBook Air. It was terrible. It was me standing in front of a white wall for like 2 months. No, a while. It was a while until I built my own computer. And during, that time in the beginning, we had a huge uptick in followers. I think at the close of the new year, I was averaging like 40 or 50 an hour, or 40 or 50 viewers after streaming for 2 months. And then January hit and I had to take a couple months off because I was doing something for the National Women's Hockey League. And I started streaming again and it was like 9, 10, 11, 12. Pretty stagnant, pretty low for what I had been previously. And so I tried to change my show format a little bit around. So I did my research. I reached out to some of the most popular Just Chatting streamers and I said, what are your top tips to grow a Just Chatting stream? It's kind of a talk show. It's kind of that, but in essence, that's the category I'm streaming under. And they said, you need a healthy and vibrant Discord. Every single one of them said that because the people who enjoy talking to you in Discord are going to enjoy talking to you on stream. So they're going to show up to stream. And so I made a Discord. I think the Discord's like maybe 6 or 7 months old. And I'd only used Discord beforehand to like join other people's servers and message people and like play video games, but I never ran a server before. And it's very user friendly, but it can be quite complicated to develop if you're pretty naive to it. And in the beginning, it kind of it was hard because it's hard. You have to set community guidelines. You have to be responsible for your community. But it became fun. It reminds me of like those AOL chat rooms of old that you would go into, like, and the topic would be like dogs, and you'd talk about dogs. So the Discord has really grown over the past couple of months. It started out just being like, the ride or dies, the ones who have been there from the beginning. And it's now kind of grown, and it's funny because you create a Discord server around your stream, right? You create a Discord streamer around you, but the good Discord servers aren't about you. They're about your community. They're about the people who you engage with all the time. And so, yeah, the right now, the most aggressive chat is the fitness accountability. I literally just looked and there was 50 new messages from this morning, and I was like, this seems about right. It's just mostly Dr. Daniel.
we were talking marathon running, so.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So a lot of race talk.
That makes me so happy though, because I haven't engaged in this chat since 7:30 this morning. But it's the people who have found each other via similar interests who are now chatting, and then those people who I see typing are always the ones who I see showing up in stream consistently week after week after week. So yeah, I think if you're gonna have a Just Chatting stream or any stream, a Discord server is really essential.
And I love that because, I mean, there are a couple of users that I know specifically from your stream that have jumped to our Discord server. And
I love it.
I feel like it is one of those things where I'm jumping for joy because I'm like, oh my goodness, I know this person. I talked to them on fitness and accountability, and now they're hanging out with us as well. And that just makes me so happy. Yeah. But it does kind of get into that, you feel welcome when you come in because there are people that know you. Shifting gears a little bit, but I know you mentioned about the National Women's Hockey League. Mm-hmm. And I don't want this whole class, I don't want this to necessarily be just streaming. In fact, the latter half of the class, we're going to be talking a lot about social media influencing and social media marketing as well, mm-hmm. And really getting into some of the nitty gritty. Can you talk a little bit about, you have a remarkable self-brand, but you've also worked in the case with MedStar Healthcare, National Women's Hockey League, and part of being Queer Esports. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that, how you incorporate your self-brand, and what are some of the things in terms of those organizations talking to you? I'm hesitant to use the word influencer, but just as a personality that would fit really well with those things.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So I do I run the only talk show for the National Women's Hockey League. We're starting back up in 2 weeks. Wow. It's on Monday nights. And how it started was this past year, the NWHL announced that they were going to be streaming all of their games on Twitch. Previously, they had been only locally televised because of lots of reasons that we don't have time to go into. But they had approached me only because when they announced that they had made that they were going to be on Twitch, I got really excited about it. But then I was like, a lot of hockey fans have no idea what Twitch is. Like literally no idea what Twitch is. So their accessibility isn't going to increase because they have no idea how to use Twitch. So I made a 45-second video on how to use Twitch as a hockey fan, how to use Twitch to market to the NWH or to watch the NWHL videos. And I had no intention of it going any further than that. They reached out to me like a couple weeks later and they're like, we loved the video. Would you consider, doing a talk show for us? And I was like, I don't have any time. No. But then we talked about it more and we negotiated terms and, it's been great. So they have like their full force of their marketing team and their graphic design team and their production team. But they were looking for someone to talk, and who knew hockey and who knew how to speak on camera and who was familiar with Twitch because that's part of it. The engagement is part of it. So I started being their host this year. It's been a lot of fun, but like you said, I still inject a little bit of my personal brand, but it's not about me anymore, right? It's about the league. It's about hockey. So I try and be a host that has a little bit of a personality, but tends to, the guest is the one doing the talking. Their face is the one on screen, and I'm just the one who kind of coaxes them along. And when you're working with athletes, which is the same with esports athletes, some of them are really good on camera. Some of them have an excellent personality, excellent charisma, but some of them are just there to play the game. And those can be the ones who are the hardest to talk to, right? They just want to put their nose down. They want to grind. They want to win. That's it. And so having, a couple years of experience in production on Twitch allowed me to be able to draw them out a little bit better and discuss with them a little bit more. Like I have no intention of being a full-time streamer ever, right? I'm not on Twitch to make partner, to have a full streaming schedule Monday through Friday, and to make a significant income out of subs. For me, streaming is an opportunity to grow these skills that I can use elsewhere. And Twitch is another social media platform that I'm using to deliver my content. So, for people who are streaming, even if you're seeing low numbers, even if you're seeing 3, 4, 5 stream after stream after stream, you're still developing skills and you're still developing this skill set that can do very well for you later in life. So I kind of got sidetracked from your question.
No, but this is perfect. And although I'm going to clip that last part and send it to my department chair for the skill set for what this class is able to do. But I do think that's something important, especially when you're mentioning kind of like it's almost like the rules of journalism of being a catalyst of talking to people, especially for the athletes that are like 110%, give it our all, one game at a time.
Yeah.
As we well know those sports cliches, but no, that's I think that's fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to that starting back up again. And not to mention that there are a lot of hockey teams that have started Twitch, but they are like in the midst of the pandemic. We're like, we're going to show NHL 94 clips of stuff that we've done, which I'm like is creative. And we're going to show like Stanley Cup runs, which is creative, but at the same time, bringing that out in terms of that consulting is so important, and that's really cool that you do that so much. So kind of running a little bit with that, and I want to leave some time for student questions. For you, what are some misconceptions about social media management? How can organizations and individuals improve with those misconceptions?
I think we touched on it mostly earlier. The biggest one that I think is using the same strategy on every platform.
Mhm.
Sure, if you are gung-ho on Twitter or you're gung-ho on Instagram, and that's all you want to do, and you're just going to repost that clip to Twitter or repost that clip to Facebook, that's fine. But that's the same strategy that works on Instagram isn't going to work on Twitter, isn't going to work on Facebook. So just doing a little bit of research on strategies for Facebook, strategies for Instagram, strategies for Twitter, strategies for Twitch can be really, really beneficial, because the subtle differences in how you use hashtags, or like in Instagram, Instagram and TikTok, it's all about the hashtags if you want to get discovered, right? It's all about the hashtags. On Twitter, if you use more than 2 hashtags, no one's going to like your post because it looks annoying. So on Instagram, if you're using like hashtag Fortnite, hashtag small streamer, hashtag Twitch, that's going to be a more successful strategy. But I think everyone who has seen a lot of people's Twitter accounts and sees the hashtag F4F, hashtag small streamer, hashtag support small streamers, like people who are looking outside in aren't going to engage with that post inherently because of your use of hashtags. So knowing when to use hashtags and when to not, and then knowing which ones to use is a huge, it can be an asset, or it can be a detriment. Because the biggest thing that streamers do wrong on Twitter is only using it to post go live links. And I know this is recycled advice that people use over and over and over and over again, but people keep doing it. So we got to keep saying it. Take a account, or what game are you playing? What game are you streaming? Who's the #1 streamer in that category? Go to their account when they post, and set notifications when they post. Immediately go and reply to it with something intelligent, something funny. Don't self-promote, right? Don't self-promote, but engage into a discussion. And if you say something that people like, they'll reply to you, and then they'll go to your profile and they say, oh, that he also, because if they're on Shroud's Twitter page, they're probably play Call of Duty too, right? So they're going to go to Shroud's page. They want Call of Duty content. They see you post something interesting. They go to your profile. They see you do Call of Duty content, and that's a follow. So on Twitter, your strategy is so different than it is on Instagram. So knowing what strategies to use and using them appropriately is what people need to do. And then the flip side, not doing that is a huge misconception, and things that I see people do that are bad.
And I love that, because I mean, we talk all about that in social media strategies of languages that exist in different social medias. And I found it interesting in my personal research, because I do a lot of research on social media influencers on YouTube, for instance. It was like, if you partnered with a brand for a while, you were considered a sellout. Whereas on Instagram, if you partnered with a brand, that's how you made it. Which I'm like, what a different language that is. And that's such a good point to be making for what you're talking about, and not saying the exact same thing over and over again, because all that went through my brain, and that was talking about shadow banning on Instagram, which is again, we don't have time to discuss that right now, but we definitely will. So the last question I have for you talks a little bit about what should social media influencers or people interested in partnering with a brand think about when they get involved with an organization.
That's a really good topic to address, because when you are trying and you're grinding and you want to be successful, you want to be a successful streamer, you want to be a successful influencer, that first sponsorship that you get asked to do, you're like, yes, 100%, yes, because it feels like it's validation. It feels like your hard work has finally paid off. So first of all, make sure it's a sponsorship and not an affiliation, because a lot of gaming companies right now are offering discount codes, right? So use code blah, blah, blah on G Fuel and get 30% off. That's not a sponsorship. That's an affiliation, because a person has to buy a product with your code, and then you get a kickback. A sponsorship is when someone gives you money and says, promote our product. So first of all, making sure that whether it's an affiliation or a sponsorship, personally, if it's an affiliation, sometimes they're, look at actually how many products you have to sell in order to get money that matters. And sometimes it's usually not worth it. And then when it finally comes down to sponsorships, thinking about, does the product I am promoting align with my core values? Does it reflect what I want the gaming world to be? Because people who have been following you for a while, people who have, been there for a while, will be able to tell when something is disingenuous. So if I went out tomorrow and I, say a supplement company comes up to me, because I've been on calls all week with supplement companies, which has been very ironic because the reason they found out about me was because I was trashing another supplement company. And people have offered me a sponsorship from their supplement company. If I announced tomorrow that I was partnering with XP Sports and peddling nootropics, everyone on Twitter would flame me, right? Everyone on Twitter would flame me. And it would, it would probably be good for me in the long run because no media is bad media. But, that doesn't align with my core values. So thinking about whether this product is something that you want to be represented by is really, really important, because at the end of the day, that's what matters.
That's wonderful. Great advice. Just all around. I'm like constantly in thinking mode right now, just how much you've given here. So this is outstanding. And thank you so much. I want to open up the remaining time we have. And again, GamerDoc, if you're okay with addressing any questions that.
For sure.
Yeah. So if y'all have any questions, now is a good time to ask. And it can be chat or it can be on the on actually mention it on your camera.
I had a question. So you said that you gained a good bit of traction pretty quickly in a few months, you said, on Twitch, like 50 viewers or something like that. Where would you say most of that came from?
That's a good question. They came from Twitter. So I had grown on Twitter for a year before streaming on Twitch. So, I got a significant amount of people coming in and saying, hey, I saw you on Twitter. I would say that in your analytics, it tells you where the traffic comes from. And like 75 to 85% were from my going live link. And it was because I wasn't just posting going live links, right? So this was the first going live link I had posted in like 8,000 tweets. And so people were interested. So that's really where in the beginning it came from, was other platforms.
Thank you.
And we've got a question in chat from Cameron. How can you get a discussion started on your Discord server? Is there something typically that occurs naturally, or is it something that we can do on our end to jumpstart interaction?
It's the same thing as if you're in your Twitch stream starting, and I always hide my viewer count now. I never have my viewer count up. You don't know how many viewers there may be one or two people in chat. It's the first couple minutes. And I mean, I don't usually just sit there in silence. I start talking. So I start talking. Yesterday I had trialed StreamYards instead of OBS to see if it was easier, to see if it was more user friendly. And so I was talking about how I was using StreamYards, and I was reflecting on the difference in video quality and the branding and the difference in overlays. So just bringing up a topic that's interesting to you and that's relevant, I think in Discord early on can be really helpful. You're right. Like, it's hard. How do you get that first chatter chatting? So you could either, if you know that there's someone in Discord who tends to interact with you, you can ask them a direct question and at them and be like, did you see the news that Ninja re-signed with Twitch? How much money do you think he got? Or talking about current events. You don't have to at that person. You can be like, did anyone see that new deal that Ninja signed? How much money do you think he got? Does this have anything to do with them kicking Dr. Disrespect? So talking about those things, bringing up topics, people love, that's also a trick I use on Twitter all the time. People love to give you their opinions. So asking for someone's opinion is like one of the easiest ways to get people to talk.
Good question. Thank you, Cameron. Others? I'm like currently looking through your Discord right now. But I do like the fact that you've got so much stuff that is consistent with your brand as well. That goes a long way. And it's interesting to see what sticks and what doesn't.
I really don't want to delete your voice channels, but I think I'm going to.
No, you absolutely should.
I just loved going back through and reading them, like the day after. It was so interesting to see like what was said in their voice channels.
But from the Jeopardy we were doing, oh my goodness gracious! I'm glad I was hosting that, and not because I was slightly reading through everything while I was doing the hosting because y'all were arguing so much, which was great. I thought that was hysterical. But yeah, like the amount of trolling that was going on different sections, and in fairness, very tongue-in-cheek trolling. It wasn't mean.
Yes, of course.
However, it was really funny about how everybody was giving you, and there's still chatter in there. That's what I can't believe.
I know. That's why I can't delete it.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun.
Make it an annual thing every Dr. Hayes' birthday.
You should. Well, again, if PAX West isn't happening.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, weirdly, there's a good lesson to be learned here because we're doing Geek Trivia on Friday. And when Dr. Kelly and I were talking about this, we kept looking at each other and saying, dude, the way GamerDoc did it was brilliant. And that would be a super fun way to incorporate that. And so that's how we're doing it. Although we're getting a lot of people that are unique viewers, I'm putting my media planning hat on, unique viewers and not people who are subbed. So mods are going to be very much a critical thing because we don't want people trolling and being mean to our contestants because I know how that is personally for being in a PAX and somebody saying, I can't believe you didn't know that.
Yeah. And that was the thing. I was like, no one's going to be watching a birthday stream about a person if they don't know us. So
yeah. And there were some deep cut stuff for sure. Another good question here. Slightly off topic, but what channel can I find the WNHL game? Or what is it? NWHL?
NWHL, yeah. Twitch.tv/NWHL. They're usually on the front page too when they're being streamed. So the games aren't starting until January, obviously, but the talk show or the show will start. I think it's the first Monday in October, and that usually is on the front page. So you will see us there.
Excellent. And any other questions? And as we're doing that, where are some places that people can reach you? And do you take any other questions after this stream is over? I want to make sure everybody respects you in terms of what's asked, but I think you've also given such good information here.
Yeah, the best place to reach me is on Twitter. My name is GamerDoc_. The person who has GamerDoc will not give it to me, no matter what I offer them. I haven't tried intimidation yet, though. Maybe next. So Twitter is really the place to go to. Feel free to DM me. My requests folder is kind of a mess, so I will probably see it. If I don't get to it in a couple days, though, just feel free to ping me again.
Cool. All right. Well, again, if there are no more questions, GamerDoc, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel. It's always a pleasure interacting with you, and this is great what you're doing.
Always a pleasure as well, and I just hope people get something out of it.
I'm sure they do.
I really enjoy doing this, and this is like my favorite part of the week is talking about this stuff. So, again, if y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And thank you all. I hope y'all have a good weekend. And again, if you would like, make sure to check out the PAX panels that are coming up on Saturday and Sunday. And also just check them out in general. There's a lot of good content out there that's coming out. I watched the Triforce Quartet on, Saturday night after our Psychology of Legend of Zelda panel was over. And it was great. They did such a good job. Plus, I just like video game music. So anyway, again, y'all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all Tuesday. And I'm not going anywhere for a little bit, so if y'all have any more questions.